The late Stone Age was a world balanced on a knife's edge. Glaciers shrank, forests spread, and nomadic hunters followed herds with the seasons. Every day was uncertain. One failed hunt meant hunger. One wrong step meant death. Predators circled the edges of firelight. Wolves, lions, and bears waiting for weakness. The crackling flame was more than warmth. It was the only barrier between survival and the dark. Families clung to its glow, sharpening stone blades, praying for dawn. In this fragile existence, desperation prepared humanity for a partnership no one could yet imagine. The hunters sit close to the fire, its smoke curling upward as fat drips from roasting meat. Beyond the glow, wolves linger, their eyes burning like embers in the dark. At first, they are thieves, waiting for scraps, shadows too dangerous to trust. Yet the people notice something strange. The wolves never rush the camp. Instead, they snarl at other predators, warning the hunters of danger long before claws strike. The line between enemy and ally grows uncertain. Step by step, night after night, the boldest wolves creep closer, drawn by warmth and food. Across shifting camps, a fragile, wordless pact is born, one that will change the destiny of both species forever. Instead of driving the wolves back into the darkness, the hunters take a daring step. They cast scraps and bones toward the glowing eyes that linger beyond the fire. Hunger draws the animals closer, hesitation turning into fragile curiosity. From this simple act begins a quiet transformation. Wolf pups, taken into camp, adapt quickly, learning the rhythm of human life. Around the fire, children play with them as if they were kin, while hunters discover their sharp noses can track prey through forest and snow. Nights become safer, guarded by watchful eyes and warning barks. What was once danger now becomes partnership. In this exchange of trust, humans are no longer alone, and wolves begin their journey into becoming companions. Generations pass, and what began as hesitation at the edge of firelight becomes an unbreakable bond. Wolves, once shadows of the hunt, now walk beside humans as dogs' guardians, partners, and living symbols of loyalty. Archaeological graves reveal dogs buried with care, honored not as tools, but as family. Their paws press into the soil of human history, marking the first great partnership between species. The sharing of scraps has transformed into shared survival. With these companions, humans are no longer wanderers alone in the wilderness. This is the dawn of domestication, a fragile step that forever changes culture and survival. The fire's glow is more than light, it is a fragile shield against the unknown. In the late Stone Age, every spark carries hope, yet danger lingers beyond the circle of warmth. Wolves once feared as prowling hunters now linger with cautious eyes, drawn not by prey but by possibility. Over time, their young are brought into the heart of the camp, raised alongside children, learning the rhythms of human survival. They guard the flames, follow hunts, and answer to simple calls. What began in fear grows into trust. Families find warmth and loyalty in these creatures. And the fire becomes more than survival, it becomes the birthplace of companionship. Between two worlds, the true measure of this bond comes with the hunt. For generations, survival depended on sharp eyes, steady hands, and crude weapons. Yet these were never enough to guarantee a kill. Now, with dogs at their side, hunters gain an advantage no tool could provide. These creatures sense prey before humans hear the faintest rustle, guiding the chase into forests and across plains. They run tirelessly, cornering and exhausting animals until a final strike becomes certain. What was once a frantic pursuit transforms into a calculated dance of coordination, man and dog moving as one. Their value extends beyond the hunt. They guard flocks, shield children, and keep the night watch. In them, humans discover sharper instincts and stronger protection, forever reshaping the rhythm of survival. The earth itself carries traces of a bond too powerful to be forgotten. In late Stone Age graves, archaeologists uncovered dogs laid to rest beside humans, sometimes adorned with beads or wrapped with the same care given to kin. These discoveries whisper of affection and loss, revealing that dogs were not merely tools of survival, but companions worthy of ritual. Their presence in the soil marks more than death. It tells of loyalty that outlived the hunt, of trust deep enough to cross into eternity. To bury a dog was to acknowledge a shared life, a shared struggle, and a shared place in memory. Here, the turning point emerges. Domestication had transformed into devotion, and the wolf's descendant was now part of the human soul. As human settlements spread, each circle of firelight is no longer solely a refuge for people. It becomes a shared domain. With their new allies, dogs rise as sentinels in the night, their sharp senses guarding against prowling predators. In the hunt, they chase through forests with speed and precision, transforming human survival into partnership. Yet beyond utility lies something deeper, a reflection of loyalty, courage, and vigilance that humans come to cherish. The wild remains vast and dangerous, but fear softens when faced together. From this point onward, no journey is solitary. Humanity and dogs walk side by side, bound in trust and firelight. In the fertile valleys of the late Stone Age, a bold idea emerges. Hunters who once lived by the spear and bow take a different path. They capture goats, sheep, and cattle alive, no longer seen solely as prey. These creatures become walking resources, offering milk, hides, and bone tools without the risk of constant hunts. Around campsites, crude pens of branches and stone rise makeshift enclosures where humans test control over the untamed. Each animal tethered close is more than food. It is a chance at security, a living promise of tomorrow. The chase begins to fade, replaced by patience, vigilance, and planning. In this quiet experiment, the first heartbeat of herding is felt. Life itself begins to change, as humans reimagine survival not as fleeting conquest, but as a partnership carried into the future. With herds now under their care, humans take a step no hunter's clan had dared before. They begin to stay. The restless rhythm of migration slows, and wandering bands root themselves into the soil, transforming into the first villages. Children grow up in the company of goats and sheep, learning to feed them, to mend fences, to guide them to water. Families no longer chase wild game across endless plains. Instead, they shape the animals' paths, carving out grazing lands in fertile valleys and near rivers. This choice brings stability. Milk fills their bowls, hides clothe their backs, and bones become tools. Yet the promise of security comes with burden. Animals need care at every hour, and predators still stalk the edges of camp. Night watch becomes ritual, with families guarding both fire and herd. The struggle is constant, but so is the reward. The fire's glow now warms herders, not hunters, preparing for tomorrow's dawn. Domestication is never a simple victory. At first, it feels like holding back a storm with bare hands. Wild cattle charge with raw fury, their horns goring the brave men who dare step too close. Goats, restless and nimble, leap fences and vanish into the hills, undoing weeks of labor in a single night. And in crowded pens, sickness spreads like fire, cutting through herds and striking at the very families who depend on them. Whole villages face ruin, waking to empty pastures and hunger. Yet even in failure, knowledge takes root. People begin to notice which animals yield more willingly, which tolerate the touch of human hands. Slowly, generation after generation, they breed for calmness, for strength that can be guided rather than fought. The struggle reshapes both beast and herder. What began as chaos becomes strategy, turning survival from blind chance into a patient, deliberate craft. The sound of survival begins to change. Villages, once ruled by silence and the crack of hunting spears, now echo with the calls of goats, the low rumble of cattle, and the steady shuffle of hooves guided by human hands. These herds become walking wealth, a living storehouse that feeds, clothes, and sustains entire communities. Meat no longer depends on luck in the chase. Milk flows daily, wool warms the body, and hides shield against the cold. For the first time, survival feels less like a gamble. The constant fear of hunger eases, replaced by a rhythm as predictable as the seasons. This shift is more than practical, it is transformative. With animals at their side, families settle deeper into the land, confident enough to plan for tomorrow, even dream of generations ahead. The wilderness is still vast, still dangerous, but its rules bend under human persistence. Reshaped by patience rather than force, archaeological clues whisper of bonds deeper than survival. In ancient graves, dogs rest beside their human partners, sometimes adorned with beads or carved token signs of honor, not necessity. On cave walls, animals appear not only as prey, but as figures etched into family scenes, painted with the same care as people themselves. These traces reveal a turning point. Creatures once seen only as resources begin to hold meaning. Beyond utility, they share in warmth, memory, and ritual. Here lies the first spark of companionship, where survival is no longer just struggle, but a story intertwined with affection. As human settlements take root, animals begin to step beyond survival and into the heart of culture. Dogs, cattle, and goats are no longer only companions or food, they appear in rituals, their presence woven into ceremonies of strength, fertility, and protection. Families give them names, and their behaviors inspire metaphors that echo through generations. The bark of a dog becomes the voice of loyalty, while the quiet endurance of cattle embodies resilience. Around the fire, myths are shaped where animals stand beside gods and spirits. In these tales, They cease to be outsiders, becoming symbols of courage, patience, and kinship itself. The bond between humans and animals begins to reshape how people see the world. A dog's steady devotion, or the reliance of a herd waiting to be guided, teaches patience and responsibility. Each act of feeding, guarding, or healing becomes more than survival. It becomes a reflection of care. In these moments, humans realize that to nurture life is as powerful as taking it. The lessons ripple outward, influencing how people treat one another. Within the quiet rhythm of herding and companionship, loyalty and compassion emerge not as luxuries, but as values that anchor the very fabric of human society. Across generations, the bond between humans and animals deepens beyond the struggle to endure. In guiding herds and sheltering dogs, people begin to recognize a softer truth. In taming animals, they are also taming themselves. The raw instinct for violence gives way to patience, and fear of the wild softens into understanding. Around the fire, life is no longer measured only in strategy or defense, but in companionship. Survival has transformed into compassion, and this shared care becomes humanity's quiet inheritance, a legacy, where the heart weighs as heavily as hunger. What began in the glow of late Stone Age campfires soon laid the groundwork for civilization itself. Once humans learned to keep animals near, the rhythm of life shifted. Goats, sheep, and cattle offered milk, meat, and hides, while dogs stood watch at the edges of darkness. No longer forced to chase herds across endless landscapes, families could stay, build, and grow. The first villages rose not only from fields of grain, but from the trust of animals. From that fragile trust, agriculture, trade, and empires quietly took shape. Domesticated animals became the quiet architects of human progress, shaping survival in ways no tool alone could. Without their strength and steady resources, farming might have withered under the weight of uncertainty. Herds offered food reserves through famine and storm. Dogs circled the edges of camp, guarding children, fields, and flocks. Cattle bent their power to human will, pulling burdens that widened trade routes and migration paths. Every milestone, whether a village thriving or a harvest secured, was tied to these companions. Together, humans and animals transformed survival into partnership, and hardship into the first glimmers of lasting stability. Archaeology uncovers the graves and cave art of long ago, but the deeper legacy still breathes beside us. A cat curled in the glow of a fire, a dog racing through fields with a child, a flock grazing under watchful eyes. Each carries a thread spun in the Stone Age. What began with wolves at the fire's edge and goats within crude pens endures in every companion we know. These animals are not tools, but bonds, living echoes of choices carved into human destiny. The journey from hunter to farmer, from restless wanderer to rooted settler, was not forged by stone blades alone, but by a fragile trust between humans and animals. Domestication gave rise to villages, to culture, to the very notion of community itself. It is not simply history, it is identity. Every shared hearth, every guarded field, every bond with a companion animal carries forward this legacy. Companionship was civilization's first gift, and it continues to define us.